What's up, guys? I am going to be very vulnerable and make a video about my journey into figuring out what is wrong with my body and what I'm doing wrong, because I've created some bad patterns in my body which led to an injury 3 years ago, and lately it's been flaring up again. So it's time I get serious about what I preach, because I've gained a lot of knowledge and I've put some of it to use, but I haven't actually strategized it properly. So now I am strategizing a journey back to health, and I'm going to share that journey with you guys. Just in case you don't know anything about me, my name is Irina. I'm a yoga teacher and a personal trainer out in Vancouver, British Columbia. And 3 years ago, I herniated 2 discs in my lower back from overuse. I taught probably 5-6 hours of yoga per day, 6-7 days a week. So I put about 30 years of yoga practice onto my body within a very quick period of time, because I was teaching at a certain studio, which I will not name, that required you to always be doing the class with the students, and it wasn't really traditional yoga. It was a mix of fitness and yoga, so it was way harder on your body. Like, we used dumbbells and stuff like that, so it wasn't really yoga, and it kills me to even say it, but that's how they promoted it. But it wasn't yoga, it was mostly fitness with some yoga classes here and there. Anyway, I am rambling, so let's get on to the first part of my healing journey, which is a joint assessment and a movement assessment. And this one was really hard for me because my body is a wreck. So I'm going to share that with you guys. Okay, here we go. All right, guys, let's start looking at my troubled body. First thing I'm going to do is check my hip flexion and extension. So what I want to do is be in all fours, raise my legs behind me, and bring my legs in front of me without any type of arching or rounding in my back. This is super important, as most people don't know how to do this properly, and they're always either in flexion or massive extension, which is an arch. Now, when I do this on the left side, I don't know if you guys can notice, but I can bring my leg way higher with a flat back than I can on my right side. So I have better extension on my left side. Now with flexion, it is pretty similar. I did end up bringing out my protractor and actually measuring the angles. So as you can tell, I do have better extension on my left. But if we're looking at flexion, I have a lesser degree, which is a good thing, on the right. So I actually have better flexion on the right. Now, if we're looking at it again, this is flexion on the right in another test, seeing if I can hold my knee up there and how high I can hold it. Same thing on the other side. Now, they do look pretty similar. Flexion is one of the things I'm good at. So it's not bad. I want it to be better, but I'm pretty happy with this. At least it's one good thing. So on my right, I have a smaller degree than my left, so flexion is better on my right side. Now this is where I struggle. This is abduction, and already when I took that right knee out, I made a little bit of a shift in my hip. Now look at my left side. That is way more stable and strong. Huge difference, to the point where it's a 15-degree difference, because I only got 30 on my right and 45 on my left. So again, there's issues going on my right side, and when I had my injury, it was my right that was mostly affected, so this makes sense. Now this is internal rotation, so how much internal rotation do I have of my femur bone in my hip socket? This is one way to look at it right here. Now, when I did my internal rotation, I can tell that it's bad. I mean, it's bad on both sides. I have a very hard time with internally rotating my femur bone, which is a big deal and something I need to work on, because if I don't have enough internal rotation, then I don't have enough space in my low back, which can cause a bunch of compression, especially when I'm going to the gym and doing squats and stuff like that. Now for external rotation, it's pretty bad, but it's not as bad. Definitely still needs a lot of work. Both of those, external and internal rotation in my hips, need a ton of work. I do have better internal rotation on the left than I do on the right. And as far as external goes, in all honesty, they're kind of the same to me. They feel very similar to me. Now, this is another test. I'm doing the same thing, internal and external rotation of the femur bone, but while I'm on my back. So this one is a little different. My calculations might not have been as accurate because I'm just trying to put angles on a photo at the end of the day. But the whole point of doing this is to give me some insights as to what is going on in my body and what I need to work on fixing. So as you can tell, my internal rotation is again better on the left. And then when it comes to my external, I see them both quite equal. So 62 on the right, 45 on the left, which seems odd because it felt a lot more when I was on my back. So that's why I'm saying I still think I have better internal rotation on the left. Now, this is spinal segmentation, so I am just looking at how my vertebrae move individually of each other, and I'm looking at my vertebrae move in a flexed position and then an extension position. So now I'm going to go into arching my low back, and then I'm going to try to arch my mid back all the way up into my head. And if you guys can tell, I have a big problem with my mid back. I'm very stuck in my thoracic spine, so I definitely need to work on that big time. My thoracic mobility is a big thing I need to work on, and I know that. So this is shoulder rotation. All I'm checking here is that I can easily move my shoulders forward and unplug them, then move them up towards my ear and then back down and plug them in. So I'm seeing if I can do a full rotation here of scapular retraction and protraction. That seems to work quite well, but when it comes to this, I definitely had a reality check. I thought I had really great shoulder mobility, and I don't. Because as you can tell, when I reach my arm back, in order for me to bring it down properly, I have to really drive that arm away from the midline of the body. And what we want with a healthy shoulder is for that line to stay close to the midline. So again, you're going to see me take my arm up, but when I rotate the shoulder and bring it back, I can do the motion, which is better than some people, but I still have to reach quite far away from the midline in order for me to make that motion properly without my rib cage flaring out. So when I do it from the back, you can really tell. I would say that my right looks worse than my left, even though my left feels worse than my right. So when I do my right, you can tell when I get my arm back, I literally almost push my torso just a tiny little bit to the left in order to make that happen. I shouldn't be doing that at all. And you'll see what I mean on the left, because now when I go do that motion, I bring my arm up and to the side. Yes, I'm going far away from the midline, but I'm not pushing my torso over to the right in the same way that I did on the other side. So again, wake up call for me. I definitely need to work on shoulder mobility a lot more than I thought I needed to. Now, this is my overhead squat, and it's pathetic. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This is really bad. My torso is coming really far forward. I'm rounding in my upper back, and I can tell that there's not a lot of stability there. So again, big work I need to do. Now my squat, boom, you can see that hip shift over to the right, and you can see it when I draw the lines. When the bar is coming over on the left, it means the hip shift is going to the right. So again, with the overhead squat, you can see the same thing. My hips are shifting over to the right as the bar is coming down to the left. So you can see it here on the picture I drew. I definitely have a right hip shift. Again, this is me seeing what my thoracic rotation is like, and it's not bad. I definitely would love a lot more. Yeah, it's hard for me to really show you guys what I'm looking for until I do another video, but let's just put it this way. For what I want in my life, I need an extra 20 degrees of rotation on both sides. So you can see it here from the front. I want to pull my low belly in and twist just from the mid back. for some people looking into this, they might look at this and go, oh, that's not bad. That's pretty good rotation. But for the movements and the exercises that I want to do, trust me, I need more movement. Now, this is a straight leg raise. I'm first doing it with pointed toes in order to engage more of my transverse abdominis and try to not rely so much on my hip flexors. I have a good 90 degrees on both sides. And again, to a lot of people, this might look great, but to me, it's really not what I want. I want more of a 60-degree angle. I want to be able to pull my thighs in towards my chest way more. So I'm going to do it again with a flexed foot in order to engage my hip flexors a little bit more. You can tell that it's a little bit better than 90%, but it's nowhere near what I want it to be. So again, lots of work I have to do on that, really engaging through my transverse abdominis and increasing my hamstring flexibility. Now here I did the Faber test, and as you guys can tell, this is my right leg, and I'm going to do my left, and you're going to see that when I do the same thing here on my left knee goes down a lot closer to the ground. So that's showing me that there's some issues in my right hip in terms of rotation and in terms of it just being open enough, which makes sense because I have that hip shift to the right. So it does make sense that the right hip is tighter. Now I'm looking at my feet and I'm trying to create an arch in my feet, and then I'm trying to splay my toes out, and then I want to see if I have the ability to pull my big toe off the ground while leaving my little toes on there. So I don't have the ability to make the best arch with my left foot, but I'm way better at making an arch with the right, and I'm really good at splaying my toes and picking up that big toe with both of my feet. So that's a good thing, and I'm happy that I have the mobility in my feet that I need. So that is an A+. Now I'm going to do lunges. This is terrible. Look at my lunge to the right, super off balance. Look at my lunge to the left, way stronger, way more balanced. So again, that right hip shift starts to come out in everything I do. Now this is just looking at ankle dorsiflexion. I have pretty good ankle dorsiflexion on both sides. I would definitely like more, so I'm going to be working on increasing that dorsiflexion a lot more. And here is another exercise of shoulder rotation. Again, I really had to humble myself as I thought my internal rotation was way better, but I see now that it's really not as great as I thought it was. I guess I was pulling my shoulder off the wall when I was doing it before, but I can only bring it this far down with my shoulder on the wall. So here it is, folks. That's my self-assessment. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sticking it out to the end. I'm going to make another video with more in-depth analysis of what I learned about my body and the programming for my mobility and workout plan, and keep you guys updated on how this journey goes, what I keep learning about myself, how I keep improving in my understanding of functional movement, and how I can hopefully use this knowledge to put the pieces back together and be a well-functioning athlete again. So I'll keep you updated. Stick around for more info.